Hello, this is 5 on 20 News. My name is Rich Aguirre.
And I'm Phyllis James, coming to you live from our studio in downtown Tucson. It's Monday, August 14th. Let's talk local headlines.
Let's do it. Tucson held a counter-protest to the Unite the Right gathering held in Virginia over the weekend. The event led to the death of Heather Layer, who was struck by a vehicle driven into her by a rally-goer. The Tucson event was organized late Saturday by a group including Democratic House candidate Billy Kovacs and attracted hundreds of Tucsonans. Because it was too quick to get a permit from the city, the gathering met at Club Congress, who granted them access to the venue to hold the event. From there, the group marched down 4th Avenue onto University and ended at the Islamic Center of Tucson on 1st Street. The marchers then returned to Club Congress, which hosted a series of speakers. Public Defender Joel Feinberg hosted the group of speakers, which included leaders of local clergy and members of the Tucson Anti-War Committee, Black Lives Matter, and Lupe, such as our own Zaire Libier. The event had no problems besides a small group of Antifa protesters getting into a verbal altercation with the police. Lynn Harani, treasurer of the Islamic Center of Tucson, helped close out the night by praising the city's support for its Islamic community.
The president may be making another appearance in Phoenix, according to officials at the Phoenix Convention Center. They say that Trump's campaign is looking at available dates the week of August 21st, but nothing has been reserved yet. This would mark Trump's first visit to Arizona as president, although he made frequent trips during his presidential campaign, including one stop in Tucson. This comes at a time when support for Trump has decreased in the state, with only 43% of Arizonans saying that he's doing a good job, according to a recent CNN poll. In the same poll, 52% said they disapprove of his handling of the office. Trump has made it a point of his presidency to hold rallies in states that voted for him in the last election. He's appeared at rallies in states such as Ohio and West Virginia.
43% seems kind of high for him.
Bazinga.
Oh, overall.
Pima County Supervisor Allie Miller responded to the events in Charlottesburg, Virginia, by commenting on Facebook that, "I'm sick and tired of being hit for being white." She continued by writing, "It's all about making us feel like we need to apologize. I'm white and proud of it. No apologies necessary." End quote. Miller commented on a Facebook thread that included Latino activist D.A. Morales, who said that Trump did not directly address White House supremacy in his official statement following the attacks. Her comments differed from other Arizona politicians, even Republicans like Representative Trent Franks and Senator John McCain, who both stated that white supremacy is evil and should be labeled as such.
Oh, yes.
A federal judge rejected a motion to dismiss the murder case against Border Patrol agent Lonnie Swartz, accused of killing a Mexican teenager during a 2012 shooting. The defense argued that the case should be dismissed because the original 2015 indictment used statements made by Swartz directly after the shooting. Defense lawyers argued that this was a violation of the agent's Fifth Amendment rights. These statements came from an interview by Border Patrol Supervisor Leo Cruz Mendez. He asked Swartz 8 questions related to the shooting. Mendez then submitted his answers in an oral report to his supervisors, then repeated these statements to the grand jury. But in March, a judge ruled that Swartz was led to believe that the interview wouldn't be used to later incriminate him in a criminal proceeding. However, the judge still felt that the case should not be dismissed outright because they were harmless in the full context of the grand jury proceeding. U.S. District Judge Rayner Collins also decided to suppress videos and photographs submitted by the defense that showed drug smugglers climbing over border fences, along with another video showing individuals throwing rocks at the Border Patrol agents. In June, federal prosecutors argued that the videos were intended to inflame emotions of the jury and that the videos weren't taken at the site of the shooting. They argued that the videos would only confuse jurors into thinking the footage was taken from where the shooting took place. The trial was also delayed for a 7th time and will now take place on October 24th. That is, unless it's delayed once again, which appears likely.
Bazinga.
It's 5 days before my birthday.
Oh. Yeah.
Vice President Mike Pence recently traveled to Colombia where he addressed the issue of Venezuela. Pence said that the United States is not ruling out a military solution to deal with the country's worsened political crisis. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro's socialist government has been plagued with regular protests on the streets of Caracas for rising food prices and shortages. The country's economy has also been impacted by sky-high inflation, primarily due to the fall in oil prices. Maduro's government also recently passed a law that would rewrite the Constitution and further empower the president. In addition to Pence's comments, the president also said that a military option is certainly something that the United States could pursue. He said that the people of Venezuela are suffering, although he could have made the same case for Americans. Pence ended the speech in Colombia by stating that we will continue to stand with free nations across our hemisphere until democracy is restored for the Venezuelan people.
Pence's appearance in Colombia came a day before the Miami Herald reported that a Venezuelan politician put out a hit on Republican Senator Marco Rubio. The paper cited intelligence obtained by the U.S. last month and said that the authorities took the threat seriously. The individual, Diosdado Cabello, is an influential leader of Venezuela's socialist government who has verbally attacked Rubio in the past. Rubio once called Cabello the Pablo Escobar of Venezuela. Cabello then responded by calling Rubio Narco Rubio. Since July 19th, Rubio has increased his security detail, likely due to the threat. However, the document received by the Herald states that the threat has not been verified as real.
The opposition challenger in Kenya presidential race has refused to concede the race after alleging that there was widespread voting fraud. Raila Odinga lost to incumbent Uhuru Kenyatta by more than 1.4 million votes. Thank you. But he claims that Kenyatta's government engaged in a conspiracy to hack the election. 24 people were killed, mostly by police, over the weekend as Odinga's supporters protested the results. Odinga urged his followers not to go to work on Monday, both as a protest of the results and to honor those killed. Despite Odinga's claims, International Observer, which includes former Secretary of State John Kerry, approved the elections as free and fair. But Odinga enjoys large support in the slums of the capital and poor rural regions. According to NPR, he is considered a father figure in the opposition, so he has been able to convince those areas that the elections were unfair.
The biggest story over the weekend involved a white supremacist rally that ended in the death of Heather Heyer, who was struck by a rally goer who slammed his car into lines of other vehicles. It began when the white supremacist group marched through the University of Virginia carrying tiki torches and shouting slogans like "White Lives Matter" and "You will not replace us." This led to an outbreak of violence when counter-protesters linked arms to stop them. The police were able to separate the two groups, but not before there were injuries and several individuals had to be pepper sprayed. On Saturday, the supremacists showed up at Emancipation Park, where Governor Terry McAuliffe allowed the group to legally assemble. Here, the group was again met with counter-protesters, this time including members of Antifa, who have often clashed with members of the alt-right. This included one member punching alt-right leader Richard Spencer following another rally last year. The violence led to 20-year-old James Fields driving his car into the crowd and killing Heyer. While the supremacist group tried to distance themselves from Fields, photographs shows that he often showed up for similar white supremacist gatherings. While the melee was happening, a police helicopter crashed nearby, killing 2 state troopers who were monitoring the event. Officials say they do not suspect foul play, but are investigating the crash. The president delivered a series of tweets and an official statement that many found underwhelming, including Republican Senators Marco Rubio and John McCain. They criticized the president for not specifically calling out the white supremacist groups, instead choosing to blame the violence on many sides. Former Vice President Joe Biden also joined in, stating that there was only one side responsible for the violence. The action ended with the organizer of the Unite the Right rally, Jason Kessler, being chased out of a press conference. Here's a clip.
Well, that was just an ugly, ugly mess.
Not good, not good.
Egypt is showing signs of climate change as the Nile River's delta levels are rising. The country is suffering from hotter summers and the decreasing shoreline, which is keeping tourists away during the usual busy summer months. The government has had to put up barriers along the Alexandria waterfront because the seawater would often flood the streets. In the sections of the city, the shorelines have disappeared and no beaches remain as the sand was washed away years ago. Many scientists say that Egypt is one of the countries most vulnerable to climate change, and they predict a 2-foot sea level rise by the end of the century. Some historic buildings in the area are already crumbling from the saltwater erosion. Egyptian climate scientists believe that the country's temperature could increase more than 3 degrees Fahrenheit over the next 4 decades. They also expect less rainfall, which would cut agricultural production by 15 to 20%. Over half of Egypt's crops are grown along the Nile Delta, so with the riverbanks eroding, seawater is seeping into the Nile water used for irrigation. This is causing crops to die young due to salty water, while other crops, such as sugarcane, have been abandoned because they can't survive in those conditions.
This was 5 on 20 News with Phyllis James
and Richard Aguirre. Don't forget to like and share, like our channel and share our videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you'll find all the latest Creative Tucson information and videos and media and Phyllis and myself and all kinds of stuff. So make sure to check that out. And feel free to send us an email at creativetucson.org if you want to get involved with the show. And yeah, do you got anything else?
Don't forget to tune in tonight at 9 p.m. for Locals Only live from Studio 2A. Thanks for watching. Stay creative, Tucson. Thank you.